Okay, welcome back, Year 8s. We're looking today at representations of Australian people. So just to recap what you've done over the last couple of lessons, you've looked at representations that can be found in all types of texts. You've looked at the fact that representations do not reflect reality and they are selective constructions. Representations can be both positive or negative. Representations are influenced by the author's cultural attitudes, values, and beliefs, and that representations are created using specific techniques such as verbal and visual devices, which we will be using again today. So, what are we going to look at this lesson? We are going to look specifically at how authors and text creators use some of those devices you've learned about already to create those representations of Australian people, and also how those representations can differ based on people's cultural values and beliefs. So, we all know who this is. This is Donald Trump. And we're going to have a look at this article here and see if we can decide whether this is a positive or negative representation of him. So if we have a look at some of the words here, the headline says, President Trump signs law to help veterans find jobs in science and tech. If we decode the image below, we can see that he has a pretty stern and concentrated face. So that means that he's focused on his decision. We can see this woman here and several others who are smiling, meaning that they're happy with the decision Trump has made. And if we look at the words at the top, we can look at words such as signs law, meaning that it is put into place. It is a law now, so he's taking action. He's helping, all right, showing that he's caring and he's giving. And then he is giving to those veterans, so those who are maybe more important or vulnerable, people who should be helped with finding jobs. So this would be a positive representation of Donald Trump. If we looked at this one here, we might say something slightly different. It says Trump's coronavirus press event was even worse than it looked. His remarks at the CDC on Friday were misguided, misleading, and show how misinformation could hamper COVID-19 containment efforts. Now, if we pick this apart, we can see that it says was even worse, meaning that it's comparing the level of disaster to other things that maybe people have seen. So we're sort of looking at it from a really extreme point of view. If we then look at words like misguided and misleading, we're using those emotive descriptive language to show that he is misguiding, meaning he is taking people in the wrong direction. We could have a look at misinformation could hamper COVID-19, meaning that he is taking a serious situation and possibly threatening those efforts that people are making. Likewise, if we look at the picture, this man here in the corner looks quite confused about what Trump's doing. So they're using facial expressions and pointing them out. So we can see from this camera angle that we are looking up at Trump, which is giving him power, right? So showing that he is the person making the decision. So this would be a negative representation. If we look at something to do with us Australian people, we could look at Scott Morrison. So having a look at the beginning of this article here, we can see that they've picked a picture of Hawaii and they have used bright, vibrant colours such as blues and greens, as opposed to maybe what we would have seen at the time in the newspapers with dark red and oranges that are talking about Australia and the Australian bushfires. We can also see that they've picked a picture of Scott Morrison smiling. Now, this article was posted in December of 2019, right when the Australian bushfires were happening, meaning that he is smiling whilst other people are suffering. So possibly showing that he is careless and not worrying about us here in Australia. We also have the word holiday, suggesting that he's taking a break from his duties. We've got country burns, so really emphasising the fact or using a hyperbole to exaggerate that the country is burning. And a question mark, so sort of questioning his intentions and his ethics. We have words like skipped out, as if he's not taking this seriously, and desperately seeking guidance. So they're showing or using that emotive language to show that Australians are really looking up to their Prime Minister, but he is smiling and turning away for a holiday. This would be a negative representation. Now, if we have a look at maybe a more positive representation, we have Scott Morrison warns Australia to prepare for a 6-month coronavirus battle. We have the word warn, which shows that he is protecting us. He is warning us. He's giving us advanced notice. Prepare, again, he is organized. He is prepared to deal with this situation. If you are prepared, that is quite a positive thing. We also have battle, meaning that he's ready to fight on our behalf, which is a positive representation. We have Scott Morrison here, who has quite a stern look on his face, showing that he is serious about protecting Australians. And like with the Trump photo, it is a low camera angle, meaning that we're looking up to Scott Morrison, showing that he is the person that is in power and the person that is going to protect us who are lower down than him. So, what are you going to do with this information we've discussed today? You are going to go onto Compass and you should be able to find an activity worksheet which will have these 4 questions on there. Now, I have done an example for you already on that activity, but you should be answering these 4 questions for a range of different newspaper articles. So you're going to be looking at who or what is being represented, so what is the subject. You're going to look at whether you think that representation is positive or negative. You are going to pick out 2 different examples of written text, so like we did with the Scott Morrison and Trump texts, and also 2 visual elements. So this could be colours, this could be angles, this could be anything in the images that you think give a positive or negative representation. And then you are going to summarise for me, what do you think that representation is and how do you know that? How did those examples help you build that representation?